March 29th, 2026. Obviously right at sunset, south of Texas, Big Wells, at 7:44 p.m. Today was my brother Clifford's birthday. Clifford Wainwriter, and he died last year. Committed suicide in my mother's house, actually. And my mother committed suicide there too. And then there was a mysterious death of a contractor after my brother died, mysteriously. So that makes me the last of the writers. You see, I'm it. The least expected to live, really. And I'm going to do another chapter. And I appreciate anyone who's listening, because I'm really doing this for humanity. There's been so many who have not been allowed to tell the truth, really, about their experience. I love how that heart's showing up there. Wow. Look at that. If I can get my finger in there, I don't know. Look at that heart. Wow, right there. That beautiful? Wow, check that out. Wow. Yeah, I had to get that. And tonight, loves, I'm gonna encourage you right from the beginning to listen to William Donahue. He's incredible. And you could learn a lot from him too. And Carl Jung and Alan Watts. And any of those who can help you heal, really. From the trauma of the experiences that we've all carried. Collectively, actually. I'm going to stay focused on that sunset because that is, wow, magnificent. And this is going to be from 25 years old to 30 or 35. We'll see how far I can get, okay? It's just my story. And here's my disclaimer. Some of my opinions or experiences might be very disturbing to some of the abuse that I suffered, but I only share it because I want you to know about it, so maybe you won't suffer it. And they don't want me to tell the truth. They really don't. I don't know why, but that's okay. Anyway, yeah, we're getting a wind. I hope you can hear me. From 25 to 30. Let's see. No, actually, I'm past that. I got all the way up to, let's see. See, I got to keep track of my own chapters here. So let me get to the end of this.
Hey, love. Hello. March 16th.
And here we go. That was March 16th. So the last one was chapter 7, 2003. I did an edition. So I got up to 2005 last time, chapter 7. And in 2005, I was 42. And we were living at 1249 Brilliant Street, number 1, Raton, New Mexico. And right about that time, you know, at least we were stable, and that was a good thing. And Mike was not drinking, but I was clueless to a lot of things. I was totally clueless, absolutely. And I was left in the dark for so many things happening behind the scenes. In Raton, New Mexico. I had no idea, though. Number one, I had no idea I was surrounded by Nazis. And a friend pointed it out to me. The banks were covered at the tops with all this Nazi symbolism, right? It was the weirdest thing. And they did have a Mason building, but I didn't even have any idea what it was about. I didn't even know what a Mason was at that point, really. And I was working with St. Patrick's St. Joseph's Church as a CCD teacher, director, choir singer, altar server. I would visit the shut-ins at the old folks' homes. I would visit the shut-ins and bring them communion. And I would go to some special friends' houses like Annie Cordova and Isabel Trujillo and Ava Garcia. And I would get to know their families. And some called me their angel because I would come every Sunday. And Laura McDougall, wow. Her and I got to be great friends, watching Mass every Sunday. She got to live to 104 years old. Yeah, she did. And I remember her last days. And I remember just a few days after her 104th birthday. And she was in such agony. And I prayed to Mother Mary to have mercy on her, to have her have a good passing. And she did, 3 days later. And I learned a lot from Laura McDougall. She was sharp as a tack. And she was a teacher, and she went way back. She used to teach the Native American children in Angel Fire, old school. Yeah. And she was an amazing woman, Laura McDougall. And I did a lot of volunteer work and raising money for the kids, CCD. They would go for their retreats, before their confirmation. And I had some great confirmation students, I did. And there was this one time I went to Kmart over Christmas there in Raton, and the lines were really long. You know, it's a couple days before Christmas, everybody's getting the last stuff done, right? And I did all my shopping, and I got out of the store, and I went to my car, and right there under my purse was this extension cord, right? Now, my CCD students were about 10th and 11th grade, right? Older kids. And I said, oh no, I got an extension cord in my basket under my purse. I know I didn't pay for. So, oh my God, okay, I got to go back in line where there's a million people in this little tiny Kmart. I'm going to be here all night. But I had to do what was right? I had to. So I went back, got in line, you know, about 10 people in, 15, something like that. And I paid for my extension cord for my Christ Mass tree. And I went home. And I felt good about what I did, going back and making the extra effort to do the right thing, you know. And I went to teach CCD that Wednesday at St. Patrick's, St. Joseph's in Raton. And it was the cutest thing because these two female students, oh, beautiful kids. They're looking at me and they're going, Miss Ledoux, we saw what you did. I'm like, me? I'm like, what did I do? They said, we saw you at Kmart last week. And you went back in and paid for that extension cord. I said, wow, you saw me do that? They said, yeah. It was the coolest thing to see you walking the walk and not just talking the talk. Mrs. Ledoux, you rule. And it felt so cool. And I had some of the best students. But you know what I found out doing that? Before they had their confirmation, they would have to choose a saint's name, right? So I would give them an assignment. And I say, hey, if you want this saint's name, you might want to know who the saint was and what their life was. And, you know, if they resonate. Not just because the name sounds pretty, right? I chose Laurel Ryder Ledoux. For my confirmation name, I chose Laurel. And there is a Saint Laurel I didn't even know. Anyway, so I said, you might want to, you know, check what saint you, that can help you. One that, you know, not just because the name sounds good, because that saint is called like an assignment to you in a way. So they would write these essays, you know, about the saint that they liked and why it was important. Battie's trying to keep Batty's balance over there. Hello, Batty. She's so precious. And so were each and every one of my CCD students. They were so precious. And I taught them some spirituality. Yes, I did. Anyway, I'm loving this sunset, and I'm going out of my way for this, for me. And you too. Whatever you can get from what I say or do. And I would make sure that, they knew what saint they were associating to. So they would come back with these essays, just short summaries. And I noticed that my 10th and 11th grade students couldn't really structure sentences or use punctuation or capitalization. I'm like, what is this? What's happening to our kids? And they were such good kids, and they deserved way better than this. And they did good on their assignments, choosing, and some changed the confirmation names they wanted, because even if their parents didn't like it, because they wanted to know the saint that they were named after and why. That was so important. And I really loved working with the kids and being with the spirit in the church. Really did. I love singing in the choir. Wow. Singing in the choir is like one of my favorite things. Because that's being in the Holy Spirit by very definition, in song. Forgive me for going off camera. I needed a drink of my Joe. Totally. Oh, check this out. I got 3 cats in a row. Look at that. See, that's the beauty of having video. Gray right in the middle. Look at Rashia. There's Uno and Rashia and Dose right there. Right next to the bay laurel tree. That is so precious, really. And Batty with my Sony speaker there. Just hanging out there. Yeah. And it kind of gets me off track, but that's okay, Jack. This is for posterity anyway. And so, I worked with them for a long time, and I noticed how the priest always had the last word for everything, And I went through a bunch of training for my CCD certification. I'm certified through the Archdiocese of Santa Fe. CCD teaching and directing, absolutely. And it really bothered me how a man, a priest, just a person, could override everything. And when I was raising money, we raised money for 2 years for a confirmation retreat for this class that I had. And I have to share this part of 2005 through 2010. We're getting there. Anyway, so we worked really hard, the bingo and Mother and Father's Day raffle, and I worked so hard. And we had planned our retreat to go to Santa Fe, go see the Loretto Chapel, and obviously the Archdiocese of Santa Fe. And I'm sorry, Batty's got her nails in me. Yeah, Batty's got her nails in me big time. Sorry. She doesn't know what she's doing. Just, yeah, okay. Yeah, that hurts like I'll get. Sorry. Yeah, I had to take a little pain there, I guess, for it. Whew. Thanks, Batty. Live quality entertainment, right? Yeah, that lit me up like a Christ mass tree. More Christ, less moss. How much crap do we really need, anyway? So my kids needed this retreat, and I wanted to go to, Santa Fe and show them the Loretto Chapel, and then take them up to Santuario de Chimayo on a bus. And we had it already, reserved, and hotels for the kids, and we had lots of chaperones to go. And we raised all the money for the trip for the weekend. Just a 3-day retreat. And after the 2 years of working bingos and raffle tickets and oh my God almighties to raise the money, we did it. And this priest comes in, Priest George Silva, who took my 13-year-old student to the Vatican to rape him, and then Archbishop Michael Sheehan to cover him. Tried to anyway, and he didn't have to do time. He had just went to a halfway house. He did nothing for his crime. But I know that his bones are on, the road to hell and lined. Anyway, so he says to me, "Oh, I don't like overnight retreats." No, I'm not. I know you raised all the money and you got the buses and the chaperones and everything, but no, I don't like overnight retreats. No, you can't go. So I'd take all of the money that we raised. He couldn't take our money that we raised, but I couldn't have a 3-day retreat with my confirmation kids like I wanted to. And so I had to rush other plans, and I ended up buying each one of my confirmation students a nightlight. Either one with Mary, some were blue and some were pink. So the girls got the pink ones, and the boys got the blue ones, Yeah. It was really cool. They were pretty little lights, and we had a great party. But George was in charge of the retreat entertainment now. He wouldn't let me pick, and he brought some people in from somewhere. I don't know where they came from. And they scared my poor confirmation kids to death. Not to total death, literally, but they were freaked out over it. And it messed up the whole retreat because of this priest. Another man, Dominion. Okay? It reminds me of Marduk in ancient Samaria, who took over Inanna and took out the divine feminine, which is what the Catholic Church has methodically done for the last 2,026 years since Mary Magdalene. And now it's time for the Aquarian and the golden age of the divine feminine. Not to take over the masculine, but obviously we have too much testosterone going on because we've been tested as women and not given an opinion, not given anything in the papacy. And now it's the end of it. No matter how it has to happen. Don't matter to me. I'm 63, so it's okay with me. And, I even stayed with the church after that. I can't believe it, but I did. He even called the St. Vincent de Paul Society a den of thieves. Yeah. When obviously he was a thief. George Silva, what a creep. And they let these men, and they've done this, they've done this forever. Take pedophile priests and just move them around to begin with. At least now they're being held accountable, because the next priest I had to deal with before I absolutely honorably excommunicated myself from that church, was Priest Balazan, there with Raton, St. Patrick's, St. Joseph's, And I started reading the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and I was in confession with him one day. And I had mentioned it to him, and he says, "That's heresy. That's heresy," right away, right? And he was always very charismatic, very flamboyant, in his robes and tapestries. And he ended up, after I was gone, of course, sexually abusing another boy. Another one, right after Silva. Yeah. And he ended up killing himself before he had to do time. Silva got a halfway house. He was going to do prison, though. And with that, he wasn't fine. No. Because he would have to walk a line. Yeah. And you know what they do to priests in prison, especially for those kind of things. So he just killed himself. And, what a wussy. I guess I would call him a pussy. That's not a bad word. There's a pussycat right there. That would be Priest Balazan. He's in the paper. It came out just a few months ago. 6 months ago or so. Yeah, and he took himself out. Yeah. Rightfully so, I'd say. I don't know. I think he got off easy, if you ask me. Hurting our kitties. Anyway, so, yeah, I decided right then, once he told me that Magdalene and her gospel was heresy, that I could no longer be a part of this institution, totally. And I honorably excommunicated myself in '06. And at that same period of time, I had, from this medicine I took from Gilead, it messed up my gallbladder really bad. And my bones and everything. And so they had to emergency take out my gallbladder from this medicine I was taking. Truvada was the name of the medicine for my AIDS and HIV then. Yeah, that hadn't gone away yet, and I didn't tell anybody. Remember, shh, don't tell anybody that you have AIDS. So Mike didn't allow me to even tell his family. I couldn't tell anybody in the community. It had to be a total secret. So nobody at the church knew anyway. And I got really, really sickly. And they had to rip out my gallbladder in '06. And then what happened after that? And then there's Cy over there. What are you doing, Cy? He's quite a guy, Cy. Yeah, we got trucks going by. Roll on by. Roll on by. Yeah, just roll on by. And yeah, I'm just out here with my coffee, my kitties, being at peace, just me. And you, who's ever listening, if you're still listening, thank you. If my story has any impact on you, that'd be great. Because I found out from Bill Donahue, that's what they wanted, is the divine feminine suppressed, depressed, not to use your imagination or your third eye, which Jesus taught us, to go within ourselves, to go within to find Christ. You're not going to find him in any church or anything, because if you go into meditation, what are they going to tell you? That's a demon. You go into meditation, you're going to let devils in. You're going to let devils in. I understand that to a degree, but if you're in meditation with the light of Christ consciousness, is that a bad thing? Huh, Betty? Is that a bad thing? Huh? No. You're in meditation with Christ consciousness. Yeah, on the right side of your brain. But yet, some places would say, hey, meditation or looking at a candle, oh, hey, that's a cult. It's an occult if, you go look within for Christ, even though he said straight up, that's exactly where I am, love. In the deepest parts of yourself where you need healing love. And like I expressed yesterday, in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the one that, Balazan had the balls to tell me it was heresy, I learned about the imaginal and how to come into communication with Christ consciousness. I never forgot it. It was an incredible blessing. And once you get it in there, you can't take it out, that kind of wisdom. It's like opening a door. Once you open it, you can't go back again. Yeah. And I had so many magnificent experiences from my studying of the wisdom of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. According to Jean-Yves Leloup, you can get it on Audible. It's quite extraordinary. You can even get it, the book itself. Anyway, so I, went through my gallbladder surgery, and I got really, really sick a couple years later. From '06 to I had '07, I got a really, really bad yeast infection. And it was super, and at that point, I was 300 pounds with diabetes. I was a wreck. I had angina, heart problems. My body was giving out. My ankles were giving out. My bones were deteriorating because of Truvada medicine I was taking. And I was on a ton of medication. I was. And but I wasn't drinking or smoking or anything. But my heart, I was just in horrible shape at 300 pounds, and dealing with Mike and his abuse, and still not knowing what was happening behind the scenes with everything. And so then I went to the hospital. It was one time that Mike saved me, actually. It was like an angel. I was in the hospital and they were giving me, I was at St. Vincent's Hospital at the time. They were giving me amphotericin, which is a wicked cardiac antibiotic. And they have to give you Demerol before you take it to bring your heart rate down, because otherwise this antibiotic could throw you into cardiac arrest, right? Right. And now they're side by side. Oh, look at that. Yeah, the meeting in the middle. Oh, the Holy Spirit's right there in the middle. Isn't that precious? Oh, they're beautiful babies. Yes, they are. Anyway, so I spent 2 weeks in the hospital with that amphotericin. They call it amphoterrible because it's such a wicked medicine. And, oh, wow. Yeah, that I almost died in that experience. This is how Mike saved me. There was a nurse who didn't know what he was doing, and this was a photosensitive antibiotic. And so it couldn't be in the sun. And this new nurse, or a male nurse, I remember, he didn't know what he was doing. And he was going to change and give me a new dose of amphotericin. But he was going to use the old IV line that had been in the sun and exposed to light. So whatever was in the line was absolutely toast. Okay, it was nasty. If he put it in me, he would have killed me in a skippy. And Mike said, because they'd already given me the Demerol, so I wasn't quite coherent what was going on for this treatment. And Mike said, "You're not going to put that in my wife's arm, are you?" And the nurse says, "What? That old line, all that old medicine in that IV line, you're not going to put that in her, are you?" And the most I could mutter was, "Call the charge nurse." And charge nurse comes in. "What are you doing, dude? You about killed this lady with that." Yeah, so Mike saved me. But I almost died that. Oh, God, thank goodness, right? Thank you for angels. If Mike hadn't been there, he might have stuck me with that needle. And, so in that light, Mike saved me that way. Definitely. That day. Anyway, so I survived that, but I had to do something about the weight because I was just so heavy, and I was trying with everything I was through diet or exercise or what. I was doing it, but I couldn't lose it. So, I had to, make a decision. And in 2008, and George Ledoux, my father-in-law, got me through that time because he prayed and prayed and prayed for me to survive that. And I did, and I got him a beautiful chair for Father's Day. George Ledoux, for, all of the prayers he had for me. And he prayed in that chair for me while I was sickly. And George Ledoux was a lot like me in the Ledoux family. He was like the saint where Tina was the sinner. It was really weird. And anyway, that's another story. And I went through that whole thing and survived and tried to lose the weight. And then in 2008, we lost Dad in July of 2008. And I had my gastric bypass. I think, before Dad died. I had my first gastric bypass surgery in 2008. I think it was May. Yeah. And I went through my gastric bypass surgery to lose the weight. And that was a big, big deal to go through. And Mike was with me too, and, because he always had a hard time with my heaviness, he always would call me a fat-ass AIDS bitch that wasn't good for nothing. And that's what he would say, and not just that, but accuse me, insinuate of everything. Gosh, what didn't that guy accuse me of? Even when I was heavy, it was weird. Anyway. So I went through the gastric bypass in 2008, and 1 in 200 people died during that procedure, right? And they gave me a test, a questionnaire before the surgery, and when it came to 1 in 200 people died during the procedure, is that a yes or a no, or true or false? And I left it blank. Doc says, well, why'd you do that? I said, because I don't know. Do 1 in 200 people die during this gastric bypass surgery? He said, yes. Matter of fact, they do, actually. No lie. And, okay, well, that's pretty high. Your odds are. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. Heavenly Creator, Elohim, angels and saints have kept me going this far. And I've got Mary Magdalene on my side now. And let's do it to it. I'm either going to lose the weight or I'm going to die trying. Right? Because that was the only thing that was going to save me. At that point, at 325, I was humongous lady. I was 3 of me. Well, yeah. And 2 of me right now. I'm at 160. Right, so 163 right now. So 2 of me. I was double my size. It was incredible. Anyway, so we lost Dad in July. And he finally got the golden ticket, Georgia. And he wanted me to do everything for his funeral. It was weird. He needed money to bury himself. I guess Tina was giving him a hard time about his burial expenses. Or he was trying to, take care of his own stuff. And he said, I want to sell you the Bronco for $1,200. He had a 1990 Bronco too. He called it the Sweet, his guardian angel. He named everything Sweet because his guardian angel's name was Sweet. So I had some money at that time. And Dad only wanted $1,250 for the Bronco too. And I said, no, Dad. I said, here's $7,000. You take care of your funeral and get something nice for you. I could have given him $1,250 and he would have been just as happy. But I didn't do that to George Ledoux. No, I didn't. I just gave him the money. And I bought him a suit for his burial. A jacket. A blazer, a dark blue one. Anyway. So, we buried Dad, and I did his Chaplet of Divine Mercy, and we did the rosary, and, it was a privilege to do George Ledoux's funeral. It truly was. He was a good, saintly man. Not perfect. Good man. And he always would tell Mike when he got off the phone, you be good to that boy. You love that boy. You be good to that boy. I think that was a red flag because he said it every time he spoke with Mike before, during that conversation, usually at the end. And then I had really bad fibroids that I developed because of the gastric and losing all the weight so fast. So I had to go through a hysterectomy in Fort Collins in 2008. Like an emergency. Batty wants back up on me. You want up, baby? Come on. Come on, Batty. You come up, baby. Let me get adjusted here. I'm still on the sunset, which is a great backdrop. I don't know. You can see me too, I think. I'm there. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, hanging out in the blue light. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. Anyway, I can hang out with you a minute. It's not about ego, really. And, so, yeah, we lost Dad. And I went through this hysterectomy. It was hairy. But we got through it. And, then, in 2009, I met Dixie. I'll call her Daisy for the story. I'm supposed to change the names there. I guess I'll have to edit it. I don't know. I'll just say it. I'm not afraid of it. Okay. Telling the truth, well, hey, I don't know how much you see me or what you're seeing, but I'm just going to tell it. And that was 2009, right in the middle of all my surgeries. I still had my 2 other huge surgeries for my gastric to go through, to get the weight off and fix myself, take care of myself, right? And Dominic was living next door, tested number 2. Demcheck. Dominic Demcheck. And he was worked at the jails and stuff there in Colfax County, or New Mexico. And Mike was trying to help him get a job and stuff. They always hang out. They were real close buds. And yeah, this is where it gets hairy for me, because I have to tell the truth about everything. In retrospect, you put pieces together that you didn't see before, really. Boy, I saw this clearly. Totally. Now I see it clearly. Then I didn't, really. And so Dominic's living there, working with Mike around the park and stuff. And Mike was getting really skippy on me, causing me so much anxiety. And I'm, wow. I guess I was still at the church at that time. Well, no, I wasn't. Because we baptized Dixie there at the church when she was in Cunningham. And, beautiful little thing. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Precious. And her mom, Kelly Cunningham, couldn't take care of her, man. She was from Ohio. And she was in an abusive relationship, and Dominic had met her online and invited her out. Mike said, yeah, invite her out. You can stay here. And Dominic didn't live in the number 2, 1249 Brilliant number 2 wasn't the best place at the time. But it was a place, and it was better, I guess, than where Kelly was. And she left Jonathan Cunningham, who ended up being a psychopath that I found out. And he abused Dixie. His brother was convicted for abusing Dixie. I looked it up, and researched it when I was in the process of adopting her as my daughter. And I saw that Kelly could not take care of her. Other people were calling CYFD and reporting her. Okay, not me. But I was there, and I tried to, I got to know Kelly. And she just, poor thing, she was lost. But she had abilities, she had a good mind on her, she's smart. But she had been so traumatized, I think, and she couldn't take care of Dixie. And I remember the first time I held Dixie, and she crapped all over the white dress I had. Poor thing. But it was the stuff that Kelly was feeding her. She didn't mean it, but anyway, and she was being neglected. She really was. And I remember Kelly not changing her diaper. And she would buy Dr. Pepper's and McDonald's before she would buy Dixie diapers. Or a diaper rash, And I tried to help where I could, but, there's only so much you can do. And she was having her out in the cold with just a little shirt with no pants on in the cold. And I just, and I'm trying to correct her. Get that baby inside. Get that baby inside. And she was just really, slow when it came to, taking care of a baby. So anyway, the second time CYFD got called. And they came out. And they said, look, you either find someone to take care of this little girl, or we're going to take her into custody. Taking her into custody probably would have been better in retrospect. But anyway, so, Mike volunteered. He said, hey, we'll take care of her. we'll take care of her. Yeah, we'll take care of her. I'm like, do you understand this responsibility, Michael? I'm 47 years old. I'm in the middle of huge surgeries. And I'm sickly. I have AIDS, HIV, diabetes, anxiety, all these things. I said, he said, just for 2 weeks, and see where she lands on her feet. Get her into a shelter in Santa Fe, which we did at Esperanza, and help her get on her feet, and then, we'll just watch her for a couple weeks. Well, okay, I can do that. Well, I got Kelly down to the Esperanza shelter because Dominic wasn't going to have nothing to do with it. And I took her down there and got her set in, and all that. And ends up, she calls us and says, hey, I'm pregnant with another baby. I'm pregnant. Great, okay. What does that mean for Dixie? Well, I couldn't take care of Dixie. How am I going to take care of Dixie and a new baby coming in and go to school for nursing? Because we helped her, paid for her books and stuff to get into nursing school in Santa Fe. And there's Venus. Wow, you got to see Venus. Anyway, so Mike said, well, let's just adopt Dixie. And she can have Carrie Ann start again, and try again, and get a new life, and we'll take care of Dixie. I'm like, I don't know, Mike. I'm 47 years old. Lucas has grown. He's out of the home. I want to get in my Allegro motorhome, and I want to retire once I get my surgeries done. I really don't want to start with babies again at 47. Even though she's beautiful and she needed a good mom. She needed someone to look out for her, make sure she was taken care of. And then these weird synchronicities started happening, And I went to Mass one day trying to make this decision. Because Dixie was a handful from the very beginning because of her experience and trauma with Kelly. She already had issues. And the reason they took Dixie was because Mike had seen, I guess, she was wearing a diaper. And Mike saw that her, her legs were red and that she had a rash. It was obvious because Kelly rarely changed her. And so he said to Dominic, you might want to take that diaper off and check her because something seems really wrong here. She's really red. So I guess Dominic took off her diaper and she was all just red and from diaper rash. It was bad. I never seen such a bad case in my life personally. It's bad. Poor baby. And it took me 3 months to clear up her diaper rash. Long time. And she was traumatized. She had problems from the beginning. And that's why they took her. Because Kelly, that was obvious neglect. Her poor little, they took her by ambulance, and that's when CYFD said, hey, you gotta find someone to take care of this baby. And I remember how that felt like as a baby, because my mother had me in cloth diapers. It wouldn't change me. A lot, not all the time. And oh, the diaper rash. I remember the pain, the burning, And so I felt so bad for Dixie. Oh, God. And there's Venus. Looking at me. She's so pretty. Yeah. And Dixie was so pretty. She looked just like me. And then, so I went to church. I'm sorry I'm skipping. I went to church. And the priest was talking about loving like a child, forgiving like a child, and laughing like a child, and playing like a child, and having the wonder of a child. And I could resonate with that. And I went after Mass and I talked to him about that, about adopting her. he led me, well, not led me, but he talked to me about that. He felt it would be the right thing, in a way. So, and then I still wasn't certain, really. And I noticed I was going through Dixie's paperwork, and I saw on her birth certificate she was born in Logan, Ohio, which is the same place where my dad was born, Robert William Ryder, and the same place where my grandmother, Ann Williamson Ryder, died, in Logan, Ohio. And I'm like, what are the chances that this little baby girl that looks just like me would be born in the same hospital as my daddy? Wow, right? God, blew my mind. Wow. You know, and I thought, okay, there's a synchronicity of some kind. And then, the last thing, the third time is a charm, right? I'm standing outside of my Allegro and I'm talking with Mike, my motorhome that I had spent a year getting ready to retire on. And I was standing there kind of at the door, and he had Dixie next to him. You know, she's a little bitty thing. She's only 2 years old. And he said, well, you either adopt her or our marriage is over. Like, I'm like, what? We've been together 20 years, or 15 years at that point, something like that. Okay. And then I started thinking, okay, well, you know, she was born in the same hospital with my dad, and the priest said that would be the right thing, really. See if my doctor will clear me. And I should have just got in my motorhome and gone and drove away. It would have been better for everybody. Bad choice, but I felt I was doing the right thing. Oh, yeah, I can. Okay, you know. Heavenly put this child in my way, and I don't want to turn her away. Look, she needs a good mommy. So, went from there, adopted her, and you know, I don't regret helping her and loving her, not at all. Just, Mike had other intentions, obviously, retrospectively. So, and my heart was in the right place, though, obviously. And so, you know, year went by, that 2009, and I had to have major surgery. I had a big flap of skin. Let me show you Venus instead of me. I don't know what you saw on me, but that's okay. That's part of the chapter anyway. I need a drink of coffee. There's Venus for you. And I'm at 47, 57. And I was having a lot of surgery that year in 09. I had to have that flap taken off. Sorry, I'm reaching for something. I had to have that flap taken off. And that was a big surgery, and it was a 6-week recovery. And I had to be up in Fort Collins, Colorado to have it, because that's where my gastroenterologist was. Dr. Patine, he's with UC there in Fort Collins. And Dr. Stephen Patine did my gastric bypass and my apron. Beautiful, magnificent surgeon. Oh, that coffee's good. So anyway, I had my apron taken off, and I was gone for 6 weeks, and Mike was taking care of Dixie down in Raton for that 6 weeks, right? And of course I'm checking on him, and she's 2 years old, so she's eating. And, you know, they had a lot of fun together, and Dominic was there to help him. And Lucas, wherever, you know, he had his own life. You know, I saw him, and he was active in my life, but Lucas was there to play guitar and, you know, hang out. But I had a lot going on that year in 09 with my, you know, my apron getting taken off, and then I had to have breast augmentation. I had to, because losing all that weight meant that I had to have my breasts augmented up again and rebuild, more or less. But I didn't add to or take away my breasts. It was really funny. One doctor said, yeah, 38B. No. But I had a really great surgeon in Albuquerque who did my plastic surgery for that, and I just put back what was there, 38 double D. I didn't add to my top or bottom, and so I achieved great symmetry from that. But that was another recovery and another time away. And Mike was at play while I was away. A lot of stuff I wasn't privy. And as far as our, relations, they went downhill big time. Even though I lost all the weight, it was really weird. And I was beauty. Absolutely. Got rebuilt, woo-wee. But yet, his attraction to me diminished more and more and more. And he was hanging out with Dominic Demchuk more and more and more. 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 That's for sure. And doing a lot of stuff I didn't know about. And obviously, Dixie in the middle of it, unfortunately. You can use your imagination, I'm just saying. And, I had after my breast augmentation, that was in 09, late in 09. There was huge changes in our relationship. Now in retrospect, I see it. And boy, I was looking prettier and prettier, and he was getting meaner and meaner and meaner to me. The prettier I got, the meaner he was to me. Not, hey, I'm so proud of you, honey. Wow, can I have some of that? No. Quite the opposite. As weird as chips. Really. For those who are still listening at 51, 59. At least it wasn't 5150, right? Because I'm not crazy. It's exactly how it happened to me. My perspective, anybody could disagree with me. Mike's not here anymore, so it doesn't matter anyway. It wouldn't matter. The truth is far more entertaining. And I wish I would have known the truth about him, what I really didn't know. That's for sure. Somebody would give me a compliment, and he would get pissed off at me, or somebody would give him a compliment for being with me, and he'd get all mad at me and say, "What are you, flirting?" In retrospect, he was always jealous of me, I guess. I don't know why. Yeah, he made me feel very unworthy. Sadly. But, anyway, I'm trying to stay still for Venus. She's generating with me. And I'm getting this out of me. Because the truth needs to be told exactly. And I'm not changing the names to protect the guilty. So forgive me. It's just not in my ability. And I'm not really, I'm just sharing my experience and what I saw and what I went through. Unfortunately. And my kids suffered too. And I feel really badly. A lot of other people too. Sadly. I don't know. 53. And I'm going to 2010, so we're almost there, man. Riding her out easy. And, yeah, we have special alignment today, and I'm not afraid of the truth in any way. That's not what I'm here for. Neither was the Christ consciousness, which is rising too. And the truth is everything. And it proves my integrity in ways. I did things with love and authenticity. Just like Venus would want it to be. I'm going to zoom up for you. She sure is pretty. Wow. Wow, yeah, I want the last 4 minutes to be that. Right there. Yeah, because my love was shining. my love was true and authentic the whole time. Because he said I did everything. And I was loyal, and royal to Michael Ruben Ledoux, 58592-0546, 122157, Taos, New Mexico. Yeah. I was royal to him. Royally. The whole time. I never cheated on him. Though you wouldn't know that hearing it from him. And I would put that on a billion Bibles, baby. I would put my soul that I was royal. Because I was. I still am. For that period of time that I was with him, I didn't think about cheating on him. I was trying to be my best for him. I thought the prettier I was, the more I worked on myself, he might want me more. He wouldn't treat me so bad. But it only got worse. Reflected in reverse. It's the weirdest thing. And 2010, I was putting up with him and his mother with Alzheimer's. Tina had Alzheimer's, and oh my God, she was difficult. It's so difficult to deal with. And since Dad died in '08, the family had to take care of her. So everybody's passing her around, and she comes up to Raton. Oh, there's a dragonfly. Hello, baby, a blue one. Precious. She was up in Raton. Yeah, in 2010. No, it was like 2012. No, see, I don't want to go past 2010 because then I'd be going past the chapters. So we'll save that story for another day. That was a long chapter, babies. But I'm in love and authenticity, and that's all I showed. I showed people love and generosity and did everything for my family. I was the do-all, go-all, be-all. But yet, there was so much I didn't know, y'all. I was so ignorant. Signs like when I was gone for, 6 weeks. Now, in retrospect, hey, what was Dominic doing there all that time, really? What were they doing with Dixie? And there were some pictures. One picture I took of Mike with Dixie in the middle of, they're standing next to each other. There's Dominic Demchik, right? And they're all three in a row, and I took a picture of him. Mike was in a ponytail and had his head kind of tilted. And there's Dixie in the middle, like looking confused or something. And there's Dom looking all giggly and jiggly. So where's Dagnac thing? Now that I see the picture, it's much clearer. But I didn't see it at the time. I did not see it at the time. Yeah, at 58:39. Oh, my dad had a saying, Robert William Ryder, that he said, hey baby, hindsight's 20/20, but you might not like the view. And for me, these last 8 years, putting all these pieces together, especially the pieces of me, coming out of the confusion of what I was left in the darkness with, not knowing what was happening behind the scenes. Wow. Talk about being a light left in the darkness, right? Poor baby. But I still love regardless, because I was in love and authenticity, loves. It really was. And, 2010. And now, the beginning of that is a whole nother chapter, because there comes my little Carrie Ann, the beauty little baby. My little Carrie Ann, precious little thing. came our precious baby, Carrie Ann. We're going to leave it there. I love you, loves, totally.